All right, back with another season preview with Nathan Brown. Brownie, we'll have a look at your old team here, the Western Bulldogs. A couple of big ins for them this year.
Yeah, certainly some big ins. Sam Power, the former Bulldog, the maestro down there, list manager, brings in Adam Treloar. What a find that is to come in midfield. Obviously, the number one pick in Hayden. Then they've got a couple of others, Stefan Martin and Mitch Hannon, who I think are both really good ins, and they just add to the depth of the Bulldogs.
Well, one of the guys you mentioned there, Adam Treloar, comes into what was already a very dangerous midfield. How do you see him fitting in that mix?
I think he'll fit in fine. I mean, he's such a hard worker, Adam Treloar. He runs hard. He just complements, obviously, McRae, who's a hard runner, Bontenpelli, who's more of a strider than a hard runner. You got Hunter on the outside. They're all hard runners, the Bulldogs. I mean, you just add another midfielder. And Adam Treloar, at some point this year, is going to explode. He's going to have 30, 35 plus disposals if he can keep himself fit. Now they're starting to put together the best midfield in the competition. West Coast Eagles got a fantastic midfield, but the Bulldogs right now are challenging to be the best midfield in the competition.
Well, one of those guys is Marcus Bontenpelli, who's dabbled forward in recent years. Do you see him playing majority of his time forward this year?
No, I see him playing midfield. Marcus Bontenpelli, if you don't have him in the stoppages, he is a maestro in there. And I think a 70-30 split. I think 70% on ball, 30% forward. We saw in the pre-season game against the Demons, he went forward, he was able to kick 3 goals and still have 30-odd possessions. And he played predominantly in the midfield that day. So Bontenpelli, midfielder, then he rolls forward.
And I guess it'll be interesting to see how Josh Dunkley fits into everything after what happened in the off-season.
Yeah, it was surprising that the coach even came out and said he was a little bit out of form over the pre-season, so he's put a couple of players on notice, him and Jason Johannesson, who got left out of that first practice match. But that is the depth of the Bulldogs midfield. You got Josh Dunkley, who was touted to be leaving, and so many other clubs interested in. The Bombers were the main one, but he starts to become the 5th and 6th midfield, and you start to see the depth the Doggies have.
And then Stefan Martin comes in and he appears to have sort of taken that number one ruck spot off Tim English while he develops.
Yeah, again, good recruiting by the Bulldogs. Stefan Martin, in the twilight of his career, can still hold down a position. Big, strong boy who can play ruck and allows Tim English, who I think will be really dangerous when he goes forward. Obviously, they've got Aaron Norton, they've got a couple of forwards down there, but Tim English, you just have to watch that game against Melbourne in the Amy Community Series, the way he led out from full forward. I think he's going to be a weapon going forward, but he's still a very good ruckman. He's a developing ruckman who, in time, he's going to become the number one ruckman and compete with Grundy, compete with Gawn, but he just gets that little bit of help this year, which is going to be nice for the Dogs.
And naturally, all eyes will be on Jamari Ugle-Hagan, number one pick in last year's draft. Do you expect to see him playing much this year?
Yeah, I expect to see him playing. You're the number one pick. You are a very good young player. I would have my sights on playing as much football as I can. Aaron Norton is the number one forward. Outside that, you've got Shaki, you've got Josh Bruce, and you've got Ugle-Hagan. Now, I would be saying that by the end of the year, he probably should have gone past those other two. I think Josh Bruce is a wonderful forward. He works really hard, but that's what Ugle-Hagan should be aiming for, to outseat those two and to become the number 2 forward.
And just quickly, what are your thoughts on the Western Bulldogs backline? Do you think that's good enough to make them a genuine contender this year?
I think it is. I had doubts last year at times, but what I like about the Bulldogs defensive unit is they're all unheralded. And what they do is they help out each other. You watch the Bulldogs defenders, when the ball goes in the air, they all leave their man and they come back. I mean, there's no huge names back there. You've got Cordy, Gardner, Keith, Easton Wood, who are all very good players. Nothing flashy about them, but they get the job done. Then you've got the run they use from Crozier, Williams, Johannesson, Caleb Daniel. So this is a really good defensive outfit now. Yes, at times, they're probably going to get beaten by just a classy forward like a Lance Franklin or a Jeremy Cameron, but I think more often than not, the Dogs are going to be able to bring the ball to ground.
All right, well, on to your predictions now. Who do you see as the big improver this year?
See the big improver as Bailey Smith. He had a wonderful year last year, but I think he's got 2, 3, even 4 gears to go. He is going to be a jet. At some point, you're going to be looking at Bailey Smith and going, who's the best player at the Dogs in the midfield? Is it Bailey Smith? Is it Marcus Bontenpelli? That's how good this kid's going to be. He's a goal kicker, and I think his best is yet to come.
Plenty of competition for spots at the Dogs this year. Who do you see as the pressure being on?
Pressure's on Josh Shaki. When you've got Josh Bruce, who's taken your spot and he's playing in the pre-season games and played most of last year, and you've got the number one pick, Ugle-Hagan. Josh Shaki, former top pick himself, he needs to bring his A game this year. He needs to get on the scoreboard because he is the one under pressure.
They finished 7th last year, 10 wins, 7 losses. Where do you see him finishing this year?
I think the Dogs play finals again, 4th to 6th. They need to win a final this year, but I think they've got their midfield to do it.